Lev, it's great to see you today.
Great to see you, Jay. Thank you for having me.
So, Lev, you're an author, a speaker, you're well known for your Substack, and you're everywhere. And there's one specific thing, though, you've covered, in fact, written even a book about, which is shadow diplomacy. How the Trump administration, when you were working with it during his first term, used unofficial channels to communicate with foreign governments. And today, a lot of people are asking, what's going on with Steve Witkoff and everyone else? What's Trump doing by cutting around the official structures of the government and sending people he knows? What do you know about that?
So, great question, and I think it's a very important topic. And I've been writing about it and told on my Substack, and I welcome everybody that wants to learn more about it to go to my Substack and see because it's not just Witkoff. You got Witkoff, you got Stephen Miller, and others. So basically, those of you that know my story know that back in this first administration, he sent me, Rudy Giuliani, over to Ukraine to basically deal in a shadow diplomacy compared to when you had a real Secretary of State like Pompeo, and then you had the shadow diplomacy, who was Rudy Giuliani and myself. And you had a real national security advisor like Bolton, and then you had a guy like me with Rudy doing the job. So same thing you got going on right here, right now. If you take a look at it and think about it, Mike Waltz was the national security advisor. Rubio was is the secretary, our secretary. What's it called? And if you take a look at it, neither one of them have even met Vladimir Putin this year. But Steve Witkoff has met him 4 times already. Steve Witkoff has been in Ukraine. Steve Witkoff, and today Donald Trump said the quiet out loud, even in his Oval meeting, talking about the a great deal that supposedly he put together, the tariff deal with the UK. He was asked a question about Ukraine, and he said, "Oh, things are going to be happening there because I got Steve Witkoff on it. He has good connections on both sides." Good connections. I mean, this guy's a real estate developer. What does that mean? You have to think a little harder because that's what's happening. These are the people that are actually, because when Donald Trump always looked at Ukraine was always to him like a commodity. He didn't look at Ukraine as, if you even recall in my first meeting with him, and not my first meeting with him, but his first interaction about Ukraine was at a dinner that we had in Washington, D.C., where he didn't even know Ukraine had oil or gas or minerals. But now he's graduated. Now he has guys like Dmitriev and others that are in Witkoff's ear. Because you have to understand, this relationship goes a lot farther back than just now. People think that Witkoff just came into the picture. Steve Witkoff has been a loyal Trump. He was his lawyer, good friend. They've made a lot of money together in the real estate, but also he became very close with Jared Kushner in 2017. This is at the same time when Witkoff was dealing with a gentleman by the name of Chairman Yi in China. When Chairman Yi in China, the same Chairman Yi that everybody, the Republican right, tried to push off and say that was, somehow doing illegal stuff with the Bidens, was actually working with Witkoff. And when Chairman Yi got indicted, that is when all of a sudden Len Blavatnik comes into the game and becomes an heir. So these names are very important because these names, I mean, we could spend a long time going back who Len Blavatnik is, his relationships to Putin and the oligarchy and the Russian hierarchy. But Stephen Witkoff is not just a real estate developer. He's a loyalist to Donald Trump, just like I was, just like Rudy was and is till this day. And that is who he's surrounded. Those are the people that are actually doing the work because Donald Trump has different visions than just diplomacy. He looks at everything, and he said to you, if you looked at him yesterday when he was doing the Canadian with the Canadian Prime Minister, he looks everything as a real estate deal. And if you take a look at every conflict we have going on right now, it's all about real estate. You look at the Middle East. He's trying to figure out how he could make the French Riviera in the Middle East and the Gaza Strip. Again, who's involved? Steve Witkoff. Who's behind the scenes? Stephen Miller. Who's wearing the hats and doing all of this? You got the chaos and Big Hegsek that's attacking the Houthis, and without stopping aid to Ukraine. That's another thing without anybody's permission. We spoke about that, and then you got Marco Rubio wearing 4 or 5 hats, running around making believe that something is actually happening when nothing is happening. So that's what truly is happening. The real power players behind the scene is the Stephen Witkoff and the Stephen Millers, not the people you see that are actually have the positions or the jobs. Like, for instance, take a look at Kellogg. I mean, he nominated him, Kellogg, as the envoy. Where has tell me one meeting that he's been on? Tell me one relevant thing. I mean, the poor guy keeps talking against Trump's retirement. I mean, because he understands that Russia's bad, Ukraine is good. Ukraine didn't start the war, Russia started the war, and that's why he's not allowed to be a part of any of that. So that's the true people behind it. Donald Trump came from a world of the underground world. Everything he does is like he does like even look at his taxes. Perfect example. He's not a person that wants to pay. He looks at a way to not pay his taxes, to pay less taxes. That's why what he does in business. Donald Trump's successfulness in business is to go around the system. So now, if you implement that towards the White House and the leadership of the presidency, he's figured out how to go around the system. And going around the system, meaning having your loyalist run the shadow diplomacy and actually do the behind the scenes negotiating, not the people that are qualified and have, because remember, the most one qualification that Trump is looking for is loyalty, not to the Constitution, and that is where yes, there is two separate. Always you have the shadow diplomacy and and the official diplomacy, as they call it.
So when you look at these people, these various people who Trump has chosen to go lead the United States foreign policy abroad, what do they have in common? I mean, Witkoff, yes, he does come from a similar background. They've worked together in the past. But how about the rest of the guys? Who are they? What's their tie to Trump?
Well, again, Stephen Miller has been around for a while. I mean, for those of you that you've been reporting on him, those of you, I mean, he's Project 2025 is Stephen Miller. If you take a look at everything that's happening right now, he's the guy behind the scenes. Trump even said it a couple of days ago because he's even looking to put him as a national security advisor. So this is a loyalist that's been with Trump for that stood by him, and this is the important part that stood by him during the between the 2020 and the 2024 elections, because that's where that group, because between 20 and 20 after January 6th, everybody ran for him, even his own daughter Ivanka. That's why you don't see Ivanka in the spotlight. Yes, she came back groveling, so did Jared, but Jared's is staying in the background because of Jared's relationships with Dmitriev. That's why you don't hear about that too much. But that's when Trump was not in office, and you saw reports about Trump talking with Putin. He wasn't really talking with Putin. The conversations were behind the scenes between like Kushner and Dmitriev and guys like that were actually continuing to build relationships behind the scenes. So that's where these are the people, and this is what holds them all together. I guess basically it's loyalty, power, greed, money, influence. Those are the things that brought me to Trump, and those are the things that keep anybody that's really around Trump that closes their eyes on all pure humanity and everything right from wrong, is that's what blinds them. So that's what holds them all together. Because also you gotta understand, like I'm sorry to but people need to. It's not just Stephen Witkoff; it's also his son Zach Witkoff. I mean, this goes further because the Trumps right now and people, the Witkoffs, this is like a group, like they have their own inner group where they're not only trying to do foreign policy, but they're also think about what they're doing with the cryptocurrency, the economics worldwide. So one hand comes in, here's the official hand that puts pressure on you and tells you what they're going to do. Well, the other hand comes in here and tells you, well, we could take pressure off if you let us build a building here, if you do this deal with us, if you give us these minerals. So it's everything's quid pro quo. And anybody that knows Donald Trump, that he got that from Roy Cohen. Roy Cohen taught him that everything has to give or take, quid pro quo, and that's how Trump looks at all this. That's why he thinks he did nothing wrong when he told Zelensky, oh, "But I need you to do me a favor." But, or when he told him, when he sent me there to stop military aid, a congressional approved military aid, because Zelensky wouldn't announce a fake investigation into the Bidens. So he doesn't understand that there's something wrong, because that's how his whole life, because he grew up in a place and a time where it's not what you knew, it's who you knew, and it was all about greasing the right hands, moving it up, and getting it done.
So you made a good observation about Kirill Dmitriev. Russia has sent him routinely to negotiate with the Americans. And he's an unusual choice. Like Witkoff, he does not come from a diplomatic background. Rather, he's somebody who handles Russia's sovereign wealth funds. Moreover, his own wife it does business with the daughter of Vladimir Putin. They've been working together for many years. It's estimated he himself has embezzled huge amounts of the wealth fund of Russia. Yet his personal ties to Putin are unchallenged, and hence he keeps his position. But why do you think that Russia specifically chose him to come negotiate with the Americans?
It's a great question, and this happened back in the Trump first administration. So the tie is the Saudis. It's crazy how everything goes back. So Witkoff and his sovereign fund, not Witkoff, excuse me, Dmitriev and the sovereign fund for the Russian, he was very, very close with the Saudis and doing business with the Saudis, and the Saudis were investing into their wealth fund going back to 2017. Same time when Jared Kushner and Trump had their relationship with the Saudis, and the Saudis would talk about putting $2 billion into Jared Kushner's fund. So, and that's where they first met. Around that time is when they first met Dmitriev, and they hit it off because they have similar backgrounds. They're both like on the outskirts, but really on the inskirts. They both have the background of the Ivy grad school. Both have the financial backgrounds, and they both were playing that same position because they were both official, unofficial, kind of looking to doing this thing, and they became pretty close. My sources tell me, and that's why when they kept the relationship going even after 2020, because Putin, nobody thought Trump's ever going to get back into office, but they kept always the relationship going because you know how the Russians are and how they always keep their by making sure they keep everybody close to them and know the information is always key. And then when Trump won, I mean, it basically, that opened up everything, basically. And that's why he sent Witkoff there. Because remember, Witkoff is also very close with Jared Kushner. It's the triangle. Witkoff, Dmitriev, and Kushner. Those three are doing right now the Middle East, the Russia, Ukraine, Iran, all of this that's happening. Those are the three. Trump is just basically the bullhorn, the loudspeaker. They come, they tell him this is what we, and then he fights for what's it called. That's why you have such. If you see the different reactions, even from J.D. Vance, where he came out and said, "Oh, Russia," because they don't even know what Witkoff and Kushner and Dmitriev are talking about. That's just for Trump's years old. Just like when we did back in 2019, Pompeo, Bolton, none of them knew what the information we were giving Trump. None of them knew what we were doing in Ukraine. They knew only from the CIA and the Secret Service that would tell them with the spying on us. But Trump, our relationship, same thing here. He has one relationship where he goes out there with Marco Rubio, with even JD Vance and all of them. Totally separate relationship when it comes to his inner circle, shadow diplomacy slash however you want to call them, guys like Witkoff and like Kushner, and these guys have the link the same way on the other side. Dmitriev is with Putin. That's why, like you said, he has no official really position, no expertise in this, but these are the guys that are carving it up and making it happen.
So, looking at that, why is it though? Is it because Donald Trump simply trusts them more than the career diplomats, or is it because he has an ulterior motive? What's behind this shadow diplomacy?
It's both. It's both. First of all, he trusts them more because they'll go to the length that the others won't. They'll cross the line. They'll discuss. They'll give the messages, and again, that's what me and Rudy did. What made us different than a Bolton or a Pompeo? Because when Rudy would be in the White House and Trump say, "Okay, I want you to go get me this investigation," Bolton or Pompeo would say, "Mr. President, you can't do that. We can't say that. We have the embassy or this one." They'll start going through official routes. And I said, Rudy would turn around and say, "I got you. We'll take care of it. Call me up and say, Lev, get on a plane with Igor, go over there and find Zelensky for me." It's easy, simple as that. That's so the same thing here. It's people that could get it done without questioning, without going through protocol. And that's the important part. Going through protocol and having it somewhere somebody know about it, what he's actually doing. Because the key to all of these agreements is, remember, Donald Trump making money on it. If you pierce through any one of these plans all over it, you will find his handprints or his family somewhere in it, either through crypto, either through real estate, either through some mineral deal. You will find him somehow because you have to understand the other thing about Donald Trump. There's a saying, say, fake it till you make it. So, you always think about that for poor people. You think that poor people fake that they're rich until they try to make it where the same come. But it also happens on different levels. There's rich people that are not rich enough. Donald Trump's one of those guys that was always, on paper, he looked like a billionaire, but in reality, he never was on that same level with these real oligarchs. In the 1990s, when the Russia fell and he saw all this real oligarchy money come in through that they pumped through his own real estate, that's when he realized that's where he wanted to be. So what you're seeing right now is not only power plays, but 90% of it is behind the scenes is money. It's money grab. Look at cryptocurrency, how much billions and bills he's taken. I mean, he's having a dinner literally for the top 200 people that are buying his mini coin. You know better than anybody, Jay. Who could afford these type of money? Who could afford to go spend $50 million to buy a worthless coin that you're going to lose all your money just to be able to have a 2 hour dinner with Trump and walk around? Regular people can't do that. These are people that majority of these people have some sort of back, either you got your drug lords, you have your oligarchs, you have your other countries that are flying. I mean, but it's not regular people. Same thing with his gold card, Visa card. You see Lutnick sitting there talking about like he's giving away Cracker Jacks, like, oh yeah, I sold 100 of them. Who did you sell these 100? Just think about it. People that have that type of money, most people are happy where they are. That's what they make. Yes, there's a certain percentage of people that want to. Majority of people don't want to move to the United States. If I'm a millionaire in, let's say, Brazil, and I have my family, why would I want to give up everything and just move to it because you gave me a gold card? I mean, this is the people that want to usually come to the United States are people that are trying to leave persecution. These people can't afford $5 million. They're running away. They're giving everything up to try to save their families and their lives. That's what America was, for the land and the free. But now we're selling it to who? Who can afford it? Oligarchs, drug dealers, criminals. Those are the people that want to get to the United States. Those are the people that are willing to pay $5 million to get an audience with Trump. I know it better than anybody. They used to try to go through me and pay me millions of dollars. They tried to try just to get an audience to influence Trump to do whatever they know about, and they know it.
So, when you were working with Trump and his team, what was their perception of Vladimir Putin? For instance, when you talked to not only the president, but also someone like Rudy Giuliani, what was your takeaway?
It's crazy. I mean, there was a tremendous respect for him, and not just for Putin, but not only also like Rudy would always talk about the Godfather. I mean, all of these, like that's why Trump always brings up Al Capone and Hannibal Lecter. There in that world, there's a tremendous respect for that powerful criminal aspect. It's great. I didn't realize it when I was in it, but that's what even connected us to such a degree, because if you watched my movie From Russia with Lev, and if you read my book or you've seen about me, I didn't grow up with a silver spoon. I didn't grow up going to Ivy League colleges. I grew up on the streets of Brooklyn and went to the Soviet Union and Russia and dealt with a lot of the same criminal aspects that are oligarchs, mobsters, whatever you want to name them. Because at the end of the day, the reason why you respect a guy like Putin is because he's very wealthy and he's very powerful, and that's what the allure wasn't about humanity or right or wrong. It was about strength, power, and you could see it in Donald Trump today because that's what he's trying to imitate. He's Vladimir Putin's student. He's a student of autocracy, he's a student of dictatorship, and he's trying to master it here in the United States.
So, what's your final takeaway? What should we be looking for in the Trump administration or should be cautious about?
My final takeaway: it's going to get worse before it gets better. He's a lot of the stuff he's doing is specifically to cause chaos. If you take a look at any dictator, what they do, the first thing they do it, and he's doing it here, and that's why it's so scary, and that's why I'm ringing the alarm bells. Is he's destroying our institutions from inside out. He's destroying our economy and the worldwide with these tariffs. He's going out and literally ripping apart our constitution and laughing at it. And there's no right now any boundaries or anything that will hold him accountable. And it's not only playing out in the United States; it's also playing out on the world stage, where countries like Ukraine are suffering, and they're suffering with their actual people are dying, people are being displaced. And Trump doesn't talk about these civil human beings. He talks about soldiers meaning Russian soldiers. He doesn't talk about the lives that the Russians are destroying. So that's my take and my message is that right now we can't wait till the next elections. here, especially in the United States, because we might not have any elections. He might destroy the Constitution. And if that happens, the fallout effect, ripple worldwide will be deep and hard. So my message is to make sure that everybody make your voices loud and clear. Make sure we don't wait till 2026, but we tell them now. We get 6 or 7 of these congressmen and congresswomen in the House to join up with, not about Democrats or Republicans, but about right or wrong, humanity, and stop this madman, and join forces right now, because the only thing that could stop this, and we spoke about it today, and Chief Justice Stephen Roberts, without naming Trump by name, said that the executive order of the pen, there's other constitutional ways to stop it, and that's Congress. And a lot of these people sold their soul, but they're not mega cultists. So, we need to call, we need to protest, we need to make our voices be loud and clear. And that's the only way we'll save our own country and democracy, and also help save Ukraine and others out there, because the ripple effect is very dangerous.
Lev, that's really fascinating. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you for having me.